So like, remember Doom? You know, one of the original first-person shooters? Groundbreaking in every way. Yeah, that was a great game, and it's aged pretty good. Sure, it feels a little clunky compared to our new cover-based shooters with regenerating health, but you know what? It still has its charm and its place. Another classic that hasn't aged so well, that would be Descent. Technically, Descent's a PC game, but being a console gamer, I always gravitate towards the PlayStation version. The premise of Descent is that all around the galaxy, mining robots have gone insane and start revolting against their creators. So you, as some dude in a spaceship, have to go down and clear the mines of all the robots. It's almost like the spiritual sequel to Berserk, except way more dizzying. Really, Descent is Doom, on the roof, and on the walls, and going backwards. Each level is a giant maze, with robots coming at you from every conceivable angle. And you know what? It's fun, but it's so freaking difficult. I lose my bearings constantly, which may be the fault of the controls, which takes some getting used to, or maybe the fact that it's just so low resolution. It's dark, it's dingy, and each path branches, and then branches again, then branches again, then loops around and branches, and by the end of it you have no freaking clue where you are. You don't even know if you're on the ceiling or on the wall or what. And all the while the robots are taking away your health, which, for the record, doesn't regenerate. You have to find health power-ups like any other old school shooter. And then there's a fuel meter. Yeah, you gotta watch out for that too, because if you run out, game over. And even if you accomplish your objective and say destroy the generator, you have to escape. And they give you like 30 seconds flashing red lights and otherwise making the screen completely black. So you're disoriented, have no idea where you are, and if you didn't find the exit previously, you're definitely not going to find it now. Really, the logical thing to do is to locate the exit, then fight the boss. And even then you might not make it out in time. Like I said, it's hard to see what's going on at that point. What, you can't get out in 20 seconds? Tough luck, you lose a life. At the very least, the game is lenient in that regard. They could have easily just made you restart the mission, but they decide if you have an extra life and you lose at that point, you can still beat the level. It's not a matter of going from point A to point B. There are tons of locked doors. Basically, every level has 3 key cards and 3 corresponding doors. I hate finding keys. Some people don't mind that kind of thing. I'm not a big fan of it, so for me that was a major blow against the game. In addition to the key cards, you can also rescue hostages for more points. But I have a hard enough time just beating a level, let alone going for a high score. Then again, I guess that's good replay value. Not only can you compete for score, but also raise the difficulty level. And to me, combat's just a little bit clunky. I think there's a trick to it. I just haven't figured it out yet. Almost every time I enter a room, I get shot at from 2 or 3 robots. I guess maybe I can peek my head and take pot shots before actually entering, but sometimes they're hidden around corners where you can't see them. It's almost like the game expects you to take damage, as in there's no way to avoid it. Sure, some of the more simple robots that just lob fireballs are easy enough to sidestep, but the blue ones with the lasers and the missile launching ones later on and all the crazy enemies you face, there's no chance of dodging everything. Especially if there are multiple robots in one room. I mean, by the time you take down one, the other 2 have been blasting you in the back the whole time. The cover of the game describes it as sensory overload in 360 degrees of 3D. And that's true, this game is, at its best, nauseating, and at its worst, absolutely mind-numbing. Your initial laser weapon kinda sucks, so along the way you can pick up more powerful guns and missiles and fun power-ups like that. And in this way it's kinda like R-Type or any other scrolling shooter where you can actually stack your power-ups. That's cool, but also like those games, when you lose them all. You can go back and find them, but good luck with that. To help you navigate the mazes, you also have a giant 3D map. This is a cool feature, but I've never been good at reading these things. Even in something like Metroid Prime, I really freaking suck at figuring out which way I'm going. Oh, and of course this one's a wireframe map, so it's really freaking hard to figure out what's going on. You can rotate around and try and get your bearings, but at least in my case, I'm better off just running around, taking different turns, hoping to find the way to go. And the levels aren't so big that it's impossible to navigate, but it's always a challenge. In the game's favor, they did use different textures on the walls to try and distinguish areas, and it almost works. Most areas do look quite different, but sometimes you'll find yourself stuck in a loop because you just can't find out which way to go. Usually it's because the actual path is a small alcove or something you might have otherwise missed while trying to race through the halls. The game supports both a password system and a save system, which is nice. So if you have a PlayStation memory card, which most people should by this point, you can just save. But if you're weird and don't, you can also use the password. The graphics are kind of good. Like, I think at the time they were probably pretty amazing, but now they're really, really blocky and blurry, and it's kind of hard to tell what's what. The enemies themselves look pretty simplistic. I commend them for using 3D models instead of the 2D sprites that Doom uses, but it really hasn't aged as well. Another thing I don't like is that the game has major slowdown problems. If you fight too many enemies, the game kind of just lags and stutters. And I'm not sure if the PC version does this too, or if it's just a PlayStation version, but it was definitely a problem for me. And you know what? I had a hard time seeing the enemies. Like when they're right in my face, yeah, okay, you can kill them easy. But if they're really far away, it's kind of impossible to snipe them down. But that's what you want to do to avoid taking damage, right? One thing that's really amazing about this game is the music. It sounds like the best of Sega Genesis, you know? It's all rockin' heavy metal guitars and crap like that. Yeah, music's totally off the hook. Anyway, I acknowledge that Descent has a very loyal fan base and it's spawned many sequels. Clearly it resonates with players. I think I just missed the boat on this one. It's hard for someone who's been playing modern games to go back to. It's a little bit clunky and it hasn't aged all that well. So if you're looking for a challenge and some old school fun, give Descent a try. Just don't forget your barf bag. So I was at the store and I saw this and I'm like, hey, that looks kind of cool, maybe I'll give it a try. But you know what? That's false advertising. What the store should have did was have some kind of rig so that when you walk in you see this. That's Descent.